Hey there, and welcome to Mindful, where we talk about the things that really matter. I'm Liz, and I'm joined by the fabulous April Farmer. I'm
Shoot.
super excited to have you here this weekend, and what a great weekend because it's Mother's Day.
It's Mother's Day.
Mother's Day weekend, so happy Mother's Day to you.
You too.
Yay,
thank
you so
you.
much, Mom celebration. But not only that, but we're talking about parenting, and you have been a parent now for
30 years.
30 years. Okay.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yes.
I've been a parent for 10 years. So my oldest is 10. He's actually about to turn 11.
Oh,
And it feels like it went by like so fast.
Yeah.
And you were talking about you read that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I never read that book.
Really?
Yes, because
Oh,
I was
yeah.
very much like, well, I'm just gonna feel it out and see how, you know. And I don't know why I was like that, but now the older they get, the more I've been looking at books. But you know what book I don't really look at?
What?
The Bible.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
I'm
And that's so
sorry.
it's true for a lot of people. It's almost like your natural inclination to just ask other people
Yes.
because it feels like it's more easy to connect to, and you trust other people's
Mm-hmm.
experience
Right.
and their wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
But we tend to neglect the fact that, I mean, God is the originator of man.
Right.
We are his children.
Yes.
And so who best to go to?
Yes, and I
Yeah.
love that you were talking about that is kind of our anchor and our
Yeah.
compass.
Mhm.
So there's a thing about, what everybody's doing now is I love this phrase, like you do you.
Yes.
Actually, I don't love that phrase. It's like, oh, it's just so,
Yeah.
you hear it so much. Just do you, just let them be them and let just God. But tell me about what the word train means, the how that we can relate to our kids and what our job is as parents,
Yes.
like to train up our kids.
Yes. So when the scripture in Proverbs tells us to train up a child in the way that they should go, it train literally means in the Hebrew, that Hebrew word means to narrow. It means to bring under submission. And I kind of we talk about it being like putting a bit in the mouth of a horse. You train a horse to learn how to go to the left when you pull it this way. You train a horse to learn how to go to the right when you pull it, and all of that. And so when it comes to training our children, they are a gift to us from God. And ultimately, the end goal when it comes to our children is for them to be disciples of Christ. That is the end goal. And so when you're training your kid, you can't let them just do them, because the heart is deceitfully wicked, whether you're 10 or whether you're 100. We have to train ourselves, even as adults, to be disciplined, to be honest, to, all that kind of stuff does not come naturally to us. And so to think that a kid can just figure it out, it's ludicrous, actually. I mean, even scientifically, the human brain isn't even fully developed till like 24, 26.
Right. Yes.
So to think that a kid will know. And another thing that parents get real frustrated about is that the fact that you have to tell them over and over and over again. Like you really have to. We've been over this. I've told you this. They're still trying to get it. It's literally training and making sure that they remember and making sure that they know. And so it's a very diligent, long-suffering type of job.
Long process.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it is.
And there's, it talks about in the Bible, there's a narrow path.
Yes.
And you talked about, there is a wide range of options, but like the narrow path is the path that leads to life, So what does that look like for us as parents to help our kids get to that narrow path? And what are the kind of like obstacles that you've seen or that?
Yeah, because I think for parents, what that looks like for us as far as getting them on that narrow path, number one is walking the narrow path ourselves, demonstrating what it looks like to be on that path and making it narrow in our home. Like, this is the safe place. Our home is where they feel comfort and safety and love. And so in that home, to create this place where, yes, I understand what happens at your friend's house, but this is what we do here, and this is why. Not that they have to agree with your why, but you can tell them this is why. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It probably won't right now, but I have stewardship over you. I have to, and I used to tell my boys this all the time. I have to give an account to God for how I parent you and what I teach you. And I do not want to stand before God and him getting on me.
Yes.
Because I didn't teach them what I knew to teach them. And
Right.
so creating that narrow path. And the reason why that's important is because the world is so broad. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be drawn to that because it's going to be the popular thing to do. Right. It's going to be the thing that's all over social media and now trending. Mm-hmm. But God is not about trending. Right. God is about consistency. Mm-hmm. God is about what will always get me to life. And so there's another verse in Proverbs that talks about there's a way that seems right unto men, but in the end, it leads to destruction. And so that's the broad way. Right. And Jesus said it so plainly. He says, everybody's on the broad path. So it's almost the clue as to whether or not you're on the narrow path. Is everybody on it? Right. Is it the popular thing? That's the real clue. And so that's so important for us to teach our children to learn how to find validation, value, and strength and courage on the narrow path, because they will be on it almost alone when it comes to, just from a world perspective. Right. No, that's so beautiful. And I love just acknowledging that they're not ours. Even though as moms, we did a lot to get them here, and we've done a lot to take care of them. And when they're so small, and you do everything for a baby, and they grow up, and you have to learn how to set boundaries, or they have to have independence. Mm-hmm. But you talked about just having a hard time letting go. Mm-hmm. And I just so resonate with, because my husband's like, I can't wait till these kids get out of the house. And I'm like, but I'll be so sad. What are you talking about? So what is that like to acknowledge? Is that something even for you personally, do you kind of say, okay, these are not my God, these are a gift from you. Help me steward them. Help me trust you. I love that thought process every day, because we put so much pressure on us. We absolutely do. And the thing is, God doesn't expect us to get it all perfect. That's why we need him. That's why we have to trust him. That's why he is the one that we go to say, Lord, I can't figure this kid out. Can you give me wisdom on how to navigate this particular situation? I'm doing that right now. I mean, seriously, and it may not be the popular thing, but this is what I feel like God's telling me to do. And you may not like it, but this is what I'm accountable to. Yeah. And so it's really something we have to learn to do in letting them go, and not too early, but letting them go in a sense of, in my heart, I recognize that I'm going to have to be firm now. Because a lot of parents like to be friends with their kids. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be, but there's a season of life where you probably shouldn't. They need to see you as the person who's giving me wisdom. I trust you. We're good. We're cool. We can hang out. But at the end of the day, it says we have to teach them to obey, to follow Christ. And that's going to mean you're going to have to take my no as a no. Yeah. And they're going to buck it, and you're going to get your feelings hurt because they don't like me. They'll literally, kids will say it. I hate you. You're not coming to my birthday party anymore. I don't like you. I don't want to live here anymore. And that stuff hurts your feelings, and it hurts it more because we feel like we have ownership and we need their approval. Mm-hmm. But no, that's not the thing. God is like, you think about the parable of the talents. To one he gave 1, to one he gave 5, he gave 10. When the master came back, he looked for a return on his investment. And it's the same way with our children. Mm-hmm. God is looking for a return on his investment. I am giving you this child to cultivate, to steward, and to multiply so that he or she can further advance the kingdom. Now, what are you going to do with it? Yeah, so if he comes back to me, what? I know. Yes. If he comes back to me and my child isn't making more disciples at some point and helping to advance the kingdom of God, then as a believer, have I done my job? Right. Sure, they may be successful. They may be riding high. They may make all the money in the world. They may be, in the world standards, living their best life. Mm-hmm. But what does it profit a man to gain the world, but then die and lose his soul? Because you can't take any of that with you. I want my children to see Jesus. Yeah. I want them to live eternally with Christ. For sure. Yeah. Wow. I let him go. I'm going to cry. Okay. Real quick, could you tell me the story of your son calling you the H word? I'm not going to say it. Real quick, just that story. Okay. Yes. So I gave my sons an opportunity to tell me how I was doing as a parent, and told them that they could be honest. So one of my sons told me I was a hypocrite, and I felt some type of way. Like, did you just call me? What? He told me I was a hypocrite, and I said, okay, explain. And I had to be prepared to be responsive and open to whatever he had to say, because I know my child loves me. And he told me I was a hypocrite. And I said, why? He says, you fuss at me all the time about making up my bed. But look at your room. Look at your bed. You don't make up your bed every day. And he called me out. He literally called me out. And I couldn't say anything, but you know what? You're right. That was a pivotal moment. Because had I just made excuses to my son, what would that have taught him?
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? You're right, son. You're right. So let's work on this together. Because I'm not a perfect parent, and they've got to see the imperfection and see that I'm willing to learn and grow and seek the Lord. And so we both made our beds very consistently after that.
You said you put $20 on the table.
I did. I put $20 on the table, and that made it fun. He won.
I wanted to know who won. Okay.
He totally won.
Okay, good. But I love that. Just the the humility also that comes with parenting and modeling. Like you said, we have to give our kids respect and model what they see they do. And it's so true. And I love that about that. And just that story in itself that you're seeking, information from your kids. And that's a great question too. To just open it up. Yeah.
How am I doing?
I know. Okay. I feel like I could ask you so many questions. So real, just a snippet, but I know one of the big points is just like the trust, right?
Yeah.
Like believing that God has a plan. So what does that look like to, fully acknowledge like, God, you have a plan, and know that, kind of give over to his plan and know that it's the right thing. You know how we all say trust, but doing it is so much harder. Yeah. Like, what would you say to that? The trust in God is obviously like the biggest part for us as parents, but how do we do that well?
I think it's responding to what he says. Trusting God doesn't mean I understand or even agree. It just means I obey. So if I feel like this is what he's saying, or this is what his word says, this is what I'm feeling, I don't want to do this. I don't want to let them go. I don't want to let them do whatever. But Lord, I'm going to do it. And it's not about how I feel, but trusting is really obedience to God, and then letting God show you that he knows what he's doing. Yes. And you may not, that's the part about it. You may not see it immediately. You may not even get the answer that you want. And I've heard of so many different situations where people have children who are incarcerated, and you're just praying and just all these things, and parents putting everything on the line to get this kid out. But God's like, let him stay. What do you do with that? You know what I'm saying? I know. But trusting God means I have to trust that your plan is bigger than what I can see, and that your love for my child, your love for your child is bigger than the love I have. And that's almost unimaginable, but it's true. They're his. And so it takes practice. Yeah. It really does. Start with the little things, just simply, I've got to discipline. I've got to correct. I've got to train. I've got to say no, and trust in that, because you're teaching your children to trust you. Because what does the Bible tell us? He wants nothing but good things. He wants to bless us. Why would you ask for bread and he give you a stone? He wouldn't do that. So if I believe that, I've got to trust that he knows better than I do. Because we don't know.
Yeah, no, I know. I know, we don't know. No, I love that, the thought process of it. It doesn't mean that you're going to get the answer that you want or that you think is best. And I love just not thinking like it's all about my feeling. It's so hard as humans, but just like practical, going back to the obedience and trusting in God. So I love that so much.
And it's asking God to pick up your slack. Like, Lord, I'm going to give you my best. Right. And you pick up my slack. Yes. And being okay with that. It takes that pressure off. God's not expecting me to do everything. Right. He's expecting me to steward and letting him lead and him guide and trusting him to pick up the slack.
Yeah. That's all. Thank you so much, April. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for joining us at Mindful. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. I'm so glad that you could join us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good one.